So Blind is a 2011 crime thriller movie, and it went under the radar that year here in Korea. But make no mistake, despite its under the radar feel, this movie actually won some awards. So is this movie worth watching? Well, that's what we're here for, so let's find out. So the movie starts off like this. There's a young lady who's about to enter police academy, but due to an unfortunate tragic incident, she not only loses her eyesight, but also loses her brother as well. So after the horrific accident, she becomes blind and has to quit the police force. Years later, she gets a blind dog named Solgi, and she lives life as normally she could while being blind. So one night, as she's going home, she hails a taxi to get back. Unbeknownst to her, this taxi driver isn't a law-abiding citizen. He's actually a young murderer and rapist of women. But she doesn't really notice because she's in the car and she can't see. Meanwhile, while this manhunt for this murderer is taking place all across the city, only one person's gotten in contact with him directly, and that's of course the blind girl. And thus starts the story of Blind. Now, the main star of this movie is Kim Ha-neul, and she had her first breakout hit in the Korean drama Piano in 2001, and it pretty much solidified her status ever since. In fact, in the 2000s, you've probably seen some of her movies if you're a Korean movie fan. She was in movies such as My Tutor Friend, Too Beautiful to Lie, and the horror movie Dead Friend. In fact, she's been in so many Korean comedies in the 2000s, the Korean press actually dubbed her the Queen of Korean Comedy. The next actor is Yoon Sung-ho, and he was actually a rising star during Blind. In fact, he was only 18 during this movie, but now he's actually been starring in a couple big movies today, such as Sondal, The Man Who Sells the River, and the 2017 drama, The Emperor, Owner of the Mask. He's been acting since he was a child, as his first breakout hit was actually called The Way Home back in 2000. It was a drama, and it soon hit him to stardom. But I would have to say that Blind was one of his bigger movies up to this date. The next one is veteran actor Jo Hee-bong, and he's been in movies such as The Pirates, as well as the upcoming 2017 drama, My Sassy Girl. And the last actor is Young Yong-jo, and he's actually in movies such as The Empire of Lust back in 2015, as well as the 2017 movie Warriors of the Dawn. And rounding out the staff is director Ahn Sung-hoon, as well as the screenwriter Choi Min-suk. Now we gotta talk about the goods and the bad of this movie. First, the good. And this movie, I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed this movie. It was one of my favorite movies in 2011. Let me tell you why. The movie's plot of a blind woman versus a methodical, witty killer is the first thing. When you first watch this movie, you're thinking, well, how can this blind woman, even with her acute senses of hearing, smelling, touch, can outwit this guy who can see her every move and actually knows her contact information? That's really hard. I really liked how director Ahn Sung-hoon just built the tension in this movie. This movie had you on the edge of your seat the entire way. You're always thinking, oh, is the woman gonna die to this killer at any point? What's the killer's next move? How is he evading police so well? And the suspense of this movie as well, it just makes you sit on the edge of your seat. And the movie does it in a believable way. Both actually play with their respective roles quite well. They don't do anything unbelievable or outlandish. And that's just one of the things I appreciated about this movie. The next one is the acting of Kim Ha-neul, and she does just an incredible job. In fact, she won 2 awards for Best Actress of 2011, and it's well deserved. She does such a convincing job of being a woman who's trying to survive in this world but can't see. But she also wants to catch this killer. And the other actor I have to single out for being awesome is Young Yong-jo, and he's the killer. He just has this crazy expression, the psycho killer that's whoa, this guy, you don't want to mess with him, but he's so creepy, but he acts normal in real life. And if you watch him in his other movies, he's the coolest guy. But in this one, he just turns into that psychopath killer. And I think a lot of people actually know him just for this role itself, because he plays that psychopathic, murderer/rapist killer so well. You really start to hate this guy as the movie goes on, and that's just a testament of how good his acting is. And another thing I want to point out is the chemistry between actors Kim Ha-neul and Yoo Sung-ho. Kim Ha-neul is supposed to be the older sister, or Nuna as we call it in Korean, to Yoon Sung-ho. And Yoon Sung-ho's character is actually this rebellious kid that doesn't really care about anything except just being cool and hanging out with his friends. And I really liked how he played both that role as a rebellious teenager, as well as later looking up to Kim Ha-neul, his adopted protective elder sister. And the chemistry is just so good how they portrayed it. Jo Hee-bong also does a really good job of the detective, as he's skeptical at first but slowly starts to believe the blind girl, as well as the rebellious punk kid Yoon Sung-ho, as they try to catch this killer. Also bring out is the dog Solgi, and Solgi plays an awesome blind dog during the movie, as well as Park Bo-gum. And you're like, Park Bo-gum? Yeah, Park Bo-gum today is one of the hottest stars, especially in Korean dramas, but this was his actual first big movie, and he only played a cameo, so he's not a a big star in this movie. But you knew once Park Bo-gum starred in this movie that he'd be destined for greater things, as he is today. Also, the movie was expertly paced at about an hour and 56 minutes, almost 2 hours. This movie didn't really have any fluff or fat in it. The mood always had that tension, always had that suspense. And this is a testament of the screenwriter by Choi Min-suk. Another thing I liked about this movie is the subway scene. And it's a perfect example how they got the suspense in this movie just right. Now the bad. And I don't have too much to say about this movie being bad, but there's one big thing, and that's the character development of the killer. What makes him motivated to kidnap these women? And that's a huge part that's missing in this movie because we want to know the motives. What makes the killer tick? What makes the killer want to do this? What's the killer's end goal at the end? And the movie doesn't really explain how he got this messed up in his life, why he actually kidnaps women. So what's my final verdict on this movie? But despite its flaws, you should watch this movie if you're a Kim Na-eul fan, you like Korean thriller movies, or you just want to see a good movie in general. This movie was one of my favorite movies in 2011. It was really a good movie. It was well executed, but it was just missing a couple elements, especially in the character development department, that could have pushed this movie over the top. I think you'll like this movie. It'll have you on the edge of your seat, and you'll be wanting for more. This movie just shows how well Korean thrillers are doing these days, and Blind is just one movie in a long list of Korean thrillers that are just awesome to watch. So what did you guys think about this movie review of Blind? Have you watched this movie, or do you want to watch this movie? We'd love to know your comments in the comments below. And if you guys want more Asian movie suggestions, please sign up for our free email list and grab our free ebook, The 108 Asian Movies to Watch. And with that being said, I'm off to watch another Asian movie, but I'll be back soon. So I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, guys.